Brilliant. Okay, so the last question then, so question 21, is your number one tip to any budding or inspiring investors, other than of course watching this channel?
Yeah. Eddie, my tip?
Yeah, number one tip.
She's just say that question again?
Yeah, sorry.
I just laughed when you said obviously watching this channel.
Yeah, it's a shameless plug there. Okay, so welcome to another episode on the free training course that I'm going to be doing. And what I thought for this one was to get somebody who's doing one of the strategies that I'm not actually doing, although I'm kind of involved in it. So I've had quite a few questions in relation to rent to rent. Obviously it's a great starting point for budding investors because you don't necessarily need that many funds. You can pretty much start, and it does require mainly sweat equity, and there's, generally speaking, a little bit less risk as well. So anyway, that's enough from me. What I've done is I've got 21 questions here, and I've got Tally, who's kindly drove all the way from his house to kind of share this information with yourselves, because I thought it's better to pick the brains of somebody who's actually out there doing it, not just saying it, and actually operating it. So we do have a few ourselves together, but as I said at the beginning, I have literally no idea what's going on, so I'm just trusting this guy. So
I don't even think you still know what's going on.
I still don't know. So actually this is a little bit for myself as well, where I can actually learn a little bit what's going on in one of our separate businesses. So Tal, 21 questions. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think it'd be nice if you just want to quickly introduce yourself, if you want.
Yeah, that's good. So obviously, for those who don't know, my name's Tally. Operate in Birmingham. I do a bit of everything really. So as Aaron said, we got our own essays. Just taking on another 3 more now at the end of this month. So watch out for those ones because I'll put there. They're going to be good. I also do management and property sourcing as well. So for example, investors who don't have the time or the effort to do anything.
So now, I've got some questions on that.
Okay.
I knew he was going to ramble. Okay, cool. So in no order, I literally did this in the morning. Just literally wrote 21 questions. Tal has no idea what's going on, so well, hopefully he does have an idea what's going on in the rent-to-rent side, but not in relation to my questions. Okay, Tal? So
cool.
The first one is, why do you think rent-to-rent is a good strategy?
Me personally, because it doesn't require a lot of cash to go in. It does require business sense a little bit,
okay.
But it doesn't require as much funds to go in, meaning, as you said, it's not, I wouldn't say it's not risky, but it's lower risk than, as you said, trying to fork out 20-30 grand for a deposit, not knowing what you're going to do, make all the mistakes. You still make mistakes, but it's not as bad. So, you know, typically you're looking, unless you lease furniture, you're looking something around 5, 6, 7, 8 grand, which is not as bad as paying 20-30 grand.
Of course.
So that's why I'd say it's a little bit...
Is that why you went into it yourself initially?
I went into it initially just purely because, one, I didn't have 20-30 grand, and 2, because I kind of fell into it, if that makes sense. So I fell into the whole rent-to-rent side, and I thought it was a way for me to reduce my hours down at work, which I haven't at all, okay. But allow me to supplement that cash so I can split things up. And obviously that's why I did, because eventually I'll get to the point where I don't need to do the work and I can just continue focusing on the business.
Okay, fantastic. So how many rent-to-rent essays do you currently manage? Just manage, including your own? Including
my own, I've actually recently dropped 2, unfortunately, due to COVID, but I gained another 3 at the end of this month. So I think I need to look at it. I think it's 18 or 19 that I've currently got. Might be 20, I just want to double check. It's kind of like all up in the air at the moment.
And you thought I didn't know what was going on?
yeah, that's it.
So how many do you actually own of those?
Out of those, we have currently 4, but we're having another 3, which is going my limited company. So I will have 7 at the end of this month.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Right, which then makes kind of sense in terms of saying it's actually a business. And I think this is, I know it sounds really simple, but this isn't necessarily what people will tell you on a property course. It's just kind of get your management agreement or get your script, go to an agent, get one, and then you basically rent it off a landlord, for example. You put it on Airbnb and booking.com and you make loads of money, but actually there's a lot of nuts and bolts that go behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
Which is really, really important. And it may not be for this video, but this is just to kind of give you guys a bit of know-how in terms of actually that there's a little bit more than you need to know, and hopefully the rest of the questions Tal will be able to answer you will actually at least make you recognize, or at least make you ask yourself the question, is this strategy for me? Do I have enough time or resources or the business acumen to move forward in it? Cool. Okay, so from a legal standpoint, what are the things that you need? Is there anything like AML, anti-money laundering, or property ombudsman schemes or anything like that that you necessarily need?
Yeah, so from a legal standpoint, there's quite a few things that you do need. Now, it does depend on what it is that you're doing. So if you're doing strictly SA for yourself, then you need obviously business insurance, which is professional indemnity and public liability. You do need contents insurance. I would strongly recommend getting that. And then you need, it's a weird one this is, I've been mixed reviews about whether you need property ombudsman or PRS. Most
PRS being property
property, so they're both the same thing. Most people say you don't, but mixed people say you do. Now, technically, I'm going on the side that you don't really need it, because if you get, the whole point of that is if someone complains, if they complain, they're going to complain to you. However, I say to people, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So,
good advice. And
those are the two main things that you need. If you are property sourcing, then it's slightly different because you do need AML. Again, if you're starting new, I'm not advising you guys to do this, but if funds are low, then I would try and find like someone else who's got AML who you can work with, and then get them to do the checks for you, because you know it's not a lot of checks that they need to do. And then once you've got some cash coming, you can then do it yourself, because then you can set everything all up. So I do it that way.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think we're both advocating that you get all the necessary legal stuff going. We don't want any rogue traders. I don't want to put you on my fake guru next video or anything like that. So make sure that you obviously do everything properly. But just worst case scenario, if you are bootstrapping, i.e. you only have a certain amount of money, then maybe JV with somebody along the line. I know when I first started a long time ago and I was getting approached the odd deal here and there, I knew I couldn't necessarily just pass that over. I could always just recommend and maybe try and get a finder's fee, but at that point it was kind of just thinking outside the box and thinking, well, this person actually is a professional sourcer, i.e. they have everything covered. I could team up with them and maybe split the fee, so that's always something that you can do. That's the best way.
There is one more other thing that you do need, it just came to me. ICO, which is GDPR. Obviously everyone knows that you need that, so you do need to be registered for that. So they're not very expensive at the end of the day, just do some research.
Okay, brilliant. So, right, okay, question 5. So one of the things that I always recommend is that agents are generally the best place to get your deals. I think direct to vendor is fantastic and you can do all these other type of marketing stuff. But if you can get on with an agent, which I know you're doing right now, then you're onto a winner, because literally you've got a limitless supply of deals, and providing you can back those on the end of it, then you're winning in this game. So I remember we used to do a few viewings back in the day, and again we come from different perspectives, because I was trying to acquire property, but at this point you were trying to control property. So in relation to agents and stuff, could you just maybe tell somebody out there who's probably a newbie, who's quite daunted by the fact that you're going to go to an agent? And I'm going to tell you now, between us, we've probably had over 100 rejections from people, and I hate the word no. Like it's the worst word in the world, and it hurts your ego because you almost take it personally. But I'm going to recommend you don't take it personally, and you see this almost as an opportunity that every time you get a no, it's a chance for you then to get better, to try and get your yes. So if you could just explain how you first walk into an agent. So if imagine this is a door, you've opened it, what's the first thing that you would be doing?
I mean, there's loads of different ways that people do it, but find what's comfortable for you is the best way. Never try to be someone that you're not. So typically what I do is I loiter around the shops for about 5-10 minutes, just looking to see.
That's just 2 years.
Yeah, I just like loiter, so I just stare through the window looking as if I'm looking at things, when realistically I'm not. I'm just trying to see who's actually on the phone or who's not on the phone. I wait for the opportunity until they're on the phone, because I know that they're not going to attack me as soon as I come inside.
Okay.
That gives me a chance then to just scan the room and literally just look for something that I can talk about. Which is like an icebreaker effectively. So for example, some of them have really big maps on the walls, or they have a clock, or they have some really cool ornament or something that's really unique, which is that you don't normally see. So I would typically just say, like, I don't know, I remember once there was a big map on the wall, said, where'd you get the map from? I need one of them for my bedroom. And she went, oh, I don't even know where we got that from. I was like, yeah, that's cool as hell, man. That all of a sudden let her guard down. And then you go into the conversations, and she would say something like, I don't know, for argument's sake, okay, how can I help you? You know, then you just sort of be yourself. Don't give it all everything. So don't say, oh right, yeah, I'm in the market to do this and I want to do this and I've got this much money and I got this much and I got 15 apartments when you got 0 and I could do this and all this. Don't do that.
Don't be one of those fake gurus or those people who fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
There is an element of just knowing the right word to say, just to be clever with it.
Exactly.
We've all done that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I haven't done that. But you don't want to just straight up lie about stuff because it can ruin your credibility. And this is one of the things I say in this industry. There's a lot of people who will just say stuff and they may well in the future make it, and that's absolutely fine. But for me, at least my judgment is I will always remember you as just that liar. Like there's something that shows about your character there. So if you're in this for the long term, and I think this has generally helped you watch it from the outside, is that people know what you see is what you get.
Exactly.
And as a result of that, that's why you've been able to build the relationships. But yeah, just thought about that, sorry.
What you said is absolutely 100% right. Is yes, there's a point where you don't want to lie, but you just want to sort of, you manipulate the truth slightly, just for your own personal gains. But never lie, never try to be someone that you're not. So if they ask you the question, what you're looking for, just say looking for an apartment or a house to rent in the area. They may say, okay, is it for you, or who's it for? Just say, yeah, it's for me, it's for my company. At that point, you'll have a crossroads. They'll either say, okay, what do you mean by your company? You answer the question, just say, I have a company, I speak to local agents and landlords, I've got connections with various different companies around the area, and we house their staff as on like a short-term tenancy. So
can I just stop you there? Sorry. When you say company, just for people listening, that's not necessarily like an organisation. You mean like a limited company?
Limited company. Okay. So you say yes, it's for me, it's for my company. I provide accommodation for other companies in the area or outside of the area who are in work for contractors for like they sometimes stay for like 2-3 weeks or a month. They can't get an AST and hotel bills are too expensive. Leave it at that. They'll either say no, they don't want to do that, or they don't get involved in short term. You can then ask the question and say, oh okay, is there a reason why? Because I've just gone down to name an agent, just literally before you walk down the road, just think of the first agent that you went to. Just went to Connell's and they're absolutely fine with the idea. They just don't have anything at the moment, but he's got me on the books. Now they're thinking, oh, okay, and I think there's a terminology for us. What is it called? The fear of missing out, FOMO. That's it. So they all of a sudden think, okay, there's a fear of us missing out on this one now.
Because you're technically then taking your service to compete.
Exactly. If that happens, obviously do that. Then just go through the questions bit by bit. Just be open and honest with them. They may ask you the question, is it service department? And just say, yeah, in essence it is a service department. But we have contracts with companies. They may turn around and say, oh, we don't allow Airbnb. I said, look, now at this point you can lie or you can just be honest. Just say to them, full disclosure, we do list on Airbnb. Reason is because we get a lot of our clients from Airbnb. Now, we do on the odd occasion have the odd leisure guest, but we take really high deposits, so the chances of them ever causing any problems is very, very slim. And then of course you just, you say to them, it's in my best practice to ensure that the property is always kept clean, because of course my reviews and my reputation is built on this. That will then give them a peace of mind thinking, okay, well at least he knows that, if they do get damages and stuff, he's going to obviously clean it all up. Then, you just say stuff like, your cleaners on there, you've got cleaners and everything that do a deep clean. Add these little things if they go into more detail about it.
But otherwise, less is more.
Less is more, that's the best way to do it.
Okay, so effectively what you want to be trying to do is you want to mitigate the risk for that person. Less is more, but sometimes if you just say, look, we have the right team in place, like at the minute now you've got security as well. We actually have security there as well. We go through a vigorous amount of checks to make sure that people aren't coming in and booking parties, for example. And you set all these little things just in conversation, like don't sit there like a tick list, like how I'm kind of reading off this phone. You want to just throw them in there, and what that will make that person think is, right, they've got all the stuff in place. Plus, you then want to say, it's in our interest because you guys want to make money and you want to obviously keep your workload down. We want to make money. We can't make money if we simply bring in some guys who trust the flat, because then we can't rent it out the next day, for example, to our corporate clients. So that's something that's really, really important, and I think you need to perfect that. So moving on to the next question, which I have is, when you go to property courses, and we've both been on property courses, we've actually been on one of the same ones as well. I think I've been on every one.
I think I've been on quite a few.
Yeah, we've joined one. Now, on that particular course, they were pushing forward having scripts, right? So it's all about a script. Now, one of the things I've done pretty well, I believe, in my own property journey is I've kind of stayed away from scripts, because the last thing I can do is act. I'm not a great actor. You'll be able to see straight away from lying. So I have to be myself. And then the way that I overcome my confidence issues then, because some of you may be similar to me and thinking, I just don't have the confidence, is you get good at what you're doing. And the only way you get good at what you're doing is by doing it and getting used to failing, getting used to rejections. So almost see that as a kind of lesson.
Yeah.
So on the script thing, if there is somebody out there now who's just thinking, look, I just have no idea where to start, because I know when you started, you're able to bounce some questions off me, and I was just telling you what I do with agents, but then you were obviously working at your own flow separately. Is there something that maybe, I don't know if I'm giving them some work to do here now, if you just knocked up like an A4 page or something, or we did it together, of a basic script that you could just send somebody if they were interested in that?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm like Harry, I'm not a believer of scripts. I find them really hard to follow.
But like a structure.
But a structure, maybe I can give you a structural, maybe some of the common questions that they would ask you, and then you kind of like, you can branch off.
Okay.
I don't know whether I can say this, but I'll throw it out there. Anyone who is genuinely struggling, I mean, like, my time's limited now because I'm not being a big boy, but I am very, very busy. However, I have done this once or twice in the past before, where I've actually taken someone out to Birmingham, and no charge. It was free. It was off the back of my own head. And
you're supposed to charge for that, by the way.
Yeah,
it's
but I'm not. Yeah, I'm not one of these fake gurus.
Yeah.
So it was just an experiment for me, but I've literally taken two people out, and we've gone to several agents, and they've sat down with me whilst I've been talking, and that helped them massively, because of course it gave them a sense of, okay, this is how you got to do it, and then obviously
it's a great way to learn.
It's a great way to learn, because you're not being thrown in the deep end, but you're with someone who's a little bit more experienced. And then of course I throw you in the deep end, because I make you do it yourself.
I like that.
By yourself. I'm there if you need me, but I don't talk. You go in because you've watched me do it for 3 or 4 agents. Then you go in on the last one. And if it comes with a no, it comes with a no. You walk away with a big smile on your face and you say, thank you, I'll come back next week.
Absolutely. Okay, so I love that. So I'm being cheeky now because I didn't know you were going to say that. Is if you're interested in potentially going with TAL, and I can obviously pull some strings, then this is my YouTube brand now.
Yeah.
Drop a comment down below, like it, try and help this video as much as possible, because for all we know, we might just get 6 people watching it, but hopefully we get a little bit more than that. But if you are genuinely interested in that, if you just drop it down below, that would massively help us. And also, for anyone who's like a newbie and you are interested, what's your email address?
I'll give you my personal one, so then you know you're serious now. So my, do you want me to say it here, or should we just
this is not a dating opportunity, this is solely for property, right?
Yeah, okay. That's it. It's just purely property. Don't try and sell me anything, or don't try and ask me out on a date, because don't want it, I'm too busy. My personal email address is tal.sanga@onyxsa.co.uk.
And because I'm an editing genius, although I'm not, I'll put that on the screen right now, so you'll be able to see that. But yeah, if you can comment down below as well, you know, we have some visions, which we're not going to talk about in this video, to genuinely help people, and I promise you it's not going to cost you anything other than a bit of sweat equity. We're not here to make you put money into your own pocket. We have a comfortable life in terms of what we like to do, so we will be helping people a lot more than that. So make sure you drop a comment down below, of course, like the video, and share this with somebody else. If it's not for you and you think this person who's close to me, that they really want to make a change in their life, and maybe they could benefit from spending a few hours with TAL, please do that. We'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks for that. So, and then just for anyone else who doesn't want to see TAL or doesn't want to see me, then just make sure you email him, and then what we'll do is give it a week, we'll sit down together and we'll just knock up a general structure, but don't go in like a robot. That's the last thing you want to do. It's a people game. So
it's a people game.
That's also going to help you later on in the future raise finance as well. So I spoke a lot about how I raise finance, and it's not by being a robot. It's not by saying the right things. It's just by being 100% myself.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so the next one is some do's and don'ts, and maybe a quick insight into. I wrote here a role play, but I'm not in the mood to do a role play. It's going to be for ages. So 2 do's and 2 don'ts, just very, very quickly in terms of when you go in.
Okay, so 2 do's is, I think, we have touched on this, is be yourself and don't speak too much.
Yeah.
Listen and then speak. I think you said this, and various other people said, God's giving you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen to what the agent is saying and then speak. Never do the other way around. So those are the 2 do's, I would say. 2 don'ts is walking in thinking that you know everything when you really, really don't, because they will see straight through you. Remember, these people, anyone who's been on a property course, you're sitting in a room with thousands of other people who've been given the same speeches and the same contracts and the same, this is how you do it. Yeah. So you're going to the same areas with all those thousands of people, and this agent has seen 30 people on that one day, and they are bored shitless of the same old things. So don't go in acting like you know everything, because you really don't. And don't go in lying, saying that you've got, 3 or 4 apartments, or I've heard some people say they've got 30 apartments in a different area. Right. I'm like, okay, because they may ask you questions, have you got a website? Then what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's it. Your credibility is shot.
Yeah, you're shot. You literally just shot yourself in the foot.
Have you ever done any direct to vendor work?
Yeah, I have done direct to vendor work. I used to send a lot of letters out to direct to vendor email addresses and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Again, this stemming off the whole property courses, they give you all the tricks and everything like that. And remember, again, I'm going to reiterate this again. 1,000 people on the course, 1,000 people know the same thing. Out of that 1,000 people, if most of them are in your area, that means that you've literally hit the HMO register, hit the SA, wherever it is, and you're doing the exact same thing that everybody else is doing, which is coloured envelopes, because apparently it stands out from the rest.
I've got about 1,000 of those.
Yeah, I've got loads. And then what is it, like more personalised handwriting, because it's...
And then put a woman's name at the bottom.
Exactly, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, some of them work, some of them don't. Of course. 9 times out of 10 they just won't work. However, I think it comes back down to repetitive, like constantly repeating. Yeah, because if you send out 500 letters and you get 500 no's, most people just give up at that point. So this don't work.
100%.
Keep doing it. Send out another 500. Send out another 500. I've got ways of doing it. I'm not gonna bore you with the whole because it's quite detailed, but effectively just get wherever it is, split it in quarters, do the first 500, second, third, fourth, then go back to the first, second, third, fourth, and keep repeating it. It is costly.
I think that's a good point there. I just want to jump in there. Is sometimes you get a rejection and you see that as a no forever.
Yes.
It's definitely not a no forever. I've had deals fall out, even the 10 flats that I think I spoke about, I'm not sure if I've done a video on that yet, where we got it rejected. We had somebody else come with a high bid. We couldn't match that bid initially. They then fell out of bed because they couldn't raise the finance in time. The surveyor who actually brought us the deal then come back to us and we were like, fantastic, we're coming again, but we're not going to offer that price, we're going to offer our price. And I think we went up by about 3 or 4 grand and we purchased it. So probably the best deal to date that I've done, obviously we've just signed on the dot and hopefully that becomes a much better deal, but that particular deal come because something fell out of bed, and it's not the first time that's happened. So like Tal just said there, is almost have a system. It can be an Excel spreadsheet, it can literally be like a reminder in your phone book where it's, I've just sent out 50, and then you set a reminder in a month or 2 months, however long you want that marketing strategy to be, and then you'll get a reminder in 2 months time, for example, saying send those out again to those same people. Because what happens is, it's headspace, so I'm not sure of the whole science behind this, but sometimes they say you need to see something 7 times before you purchase something, or you buy into it, or you look at it closely. So almost off the base of that, it might take you a year just to get into somebody's line of sight, but if you get that right landlord at that particular time, you're onto a winner.
Yeah, because remember, you don't know, that landlord might have access to however many apartments or houses,
or they might know somebody,
or they may know somebody, because as soon as you do a good job for them, they'll pass it on.
So one of the things that we just mentioned in this answer was sweat equity, i.e. consistency. Now this is why I'm moaning a little bit about it in terms of like the fake gurus and stuff, because what happens is it's very tiring, the process of getting the ball rolling in terms of getting that snowball effect in this game, because you've got to get rejected 24/7 literally.
Yeah. So
as a result of that, what a lot of people tend to do is they learn the basics, they get the odd deal and stuff, and then they become gurus all of a sudden. Because it's a lot easier for even myself just to sit here and say, I have a portfolio of X amount, I have made 6 figures here, we are about to make 6 figures, and I can say all of this, and then I can put a fancy little ClickFunnels website, and then I can start drawing you all in. Absolutely. And I can probably make more money off that, I absolutely can, than doing this video, which may get, I don't know, 10, 15 views, for example. But that doesn't sit right with me. And also, one of the things I strongly urge people is to think about skill acquisition, because guru person, for example, I've gone off on a tangent here, may make a little bit more money than you in the short term.
Absolutely.
But if you just get absolutely amazing at your craft, sooner or later you're going to start catching them up. And then when you get to the top tier level, when you get investors willing to put £1 million, £2 million, they'll see through that. They'll see that you're just a very superficial person in terms of the knowledge that you know. And then when they see that credibility of how long you've been building it, you've never really sold your soul, to make a bit of money, it's going to massively help you. That's what's helped me raise, for example, over £1 million, because I've never really sold out. I think I could pretty easily make a bit of money just being a course mentor and stuff.
Yeah.
But my goal is to be the best at what I do in terms of, now we're moving on to development, for example. And I think you've done that with the SA business. It's always been, I want to build this business because it's become your baby, and you build it from the ground up to where you are now. You could probably become a course person now, but you're, like you said to me, I think the other day, you're still learning stuff every single day.
Yeah, you're learning stuff every single day. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a forever learning course game, really. Ultimately, but yeah, you're right. I could sit here and tell you all of this in a course and charge you £1,000. You won't get nothing from it, because you learn from the job, and that is ultimately it. I can tell you the basics, but you'll never know what you got to do until you actually physically do it.
And that's all this channel is going to try and do, is tell you the stuff that a course or a basic mentor is going to teach you for absolutely free. So once you learn it from here, then sadly, the rest is all through implementation. And
basically,
we can't stop that, and no course person can tell you that.
Nah.
We can tell you all our rejections, but remember, you're a completely different person. You're going to go in a different stance. You're not going to look at the map like TAL did. You're going to look at something else, or you might even feel comfortable doing that. I can't do that, because then that would give me anxiety, thinking, what if there's no centerpiece in the room? So I would never do that myself. Brilliant.
The more you fail, the better you are.
There you go. Absolutely, I agree. We better move on, because this is going to be about 15-hour episode. Okay, so as concise as possible, if you can. What services do you currently offer? Can you source and manage? Do you source, or do you just manage?
I do everything. So I mix things up a little bit, because I work with investors. I don't work against them or anything like that. It's not, oh, this is my way and this is the only way. I will give you an option. I will give you the option of, if you want me to source it, just literally straight away source it, and then you pay me a fee. That's it. I'll do all the bits and bobs, and it's yours. You handle everything from there, moving on. If you want me to manage it and source it and manage it, then I can do that. Some people really want the lazy way out, where they want me to source it, furnish it, and get it all set up.
That's me.
Ready to go with the photos and me managing it, and I do that as well. Of course, when you come through me, you have the access to my furniture people, the people who I use.
Your power team, effectively.
Exactly, yeah. You have access to all that. You won't have their numbers, unfortunately. Well, yeah, you will, because they'll be on the invoices. But yeah, you have access to all that kind of stuff.
Okay, brilliant. So how do you know if there's a flat or a house, or somebody's gone out there now, they've acquired something, i.e. you've got past that hurdle, and the agent said, okay, we have flat X and it's located here. How do you know there's a good demand for it? Because you can have the best product in the world, i.e. like this YouTube channel. But if people don't know about it, then nobody's going to watch it or subscribe to it, which hopefully you're doing. But for example, let's go back to the actual point. You've got a house X, the landlord's happy, the agent's happy. How do you know that that's actually going to work out for you? Because it's a bit of a risk. You put in £5,000-6,000 or however much it costs into that, and then all of a sudden you can't get bookings. So is there a way that you ascertain that demand?
There is ways that you can do it. You can really hustle hard and go on booking.com and Airbnb and scope out the competition. You can do the lazy way, which is using software like, I think it's like AirDNA.
Okay.
I don't really use any of them personally. I just look at it, and I look at it in the sense that, right, okay, because my area is Birmingham, so I can, well, anywhere in Birmingham in theory would work. So because bear in mind, I've been doing this for a while as well, so I look at it in the sense that apartments work great in the city centre, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, maybe not the ones. They work great in the city centre, and they work great for leisure and corporate, and they work great for contractors if you've got the right beds. That's the keys. Never have double beds in a 2-bedroom apartment. Have singles, yeah. Okay. If you go out of the city centre, just on the outskirts, and you get like a house, they work amazing for contractors. So realistically, what you want to do is not just jump into SA because everybody else is doing it. Find what works for you. So are you aiming for leisure? Then get an apartment.
Okay, so have your end user in mind.
Exactly that, yeah. If you're aiming directly for corporates, which will take a long time, so bear that in mind, then go for apartments. If you want straight contractors, again, it will take you time to build that relationship. So, but go for a house or go for a very large apartment in the city centres and stuff. So look for your clients and base your accommodation around that. So one thing that I would urge people to do is play around with stuff. Start with an apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, because it cash flows pretty well, even through the rocky stages.
Because just to add to that, one thing I do know about it is the more people come, you can charge additionally.
Exactly, yeah. There's ways you can, you charge extra per the extra amount and all that kind of stuff. And when you can start implementing things like pricing software and all that kind of stuff. Once you've got that working and you find out all the bugs, then look for getting a 2 or 3 bedroom house just on the outskirts, because you make more money from a house because you can house larger parties. Then of course you split your portfolio up, so you got an apartment, you got houses. Then go for another, then on your third one, do an apartment, then do a house, then do an apartment, then do a house, and then just slowly start to branch out. That's how I would do it.
Okay.
I haven't done it like that because unfortunately, like Aaron said, I built relationship with my agent, so she just gives me apartments like that, and as soon as they come on, I just take them.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Next question: what's the best monthly profit you've made? On just one.
On just one.
Yeah.
Recently, I've made £1,300 profit, and that's consistently since March.
That's net.
That's net. That's after my bills.
Okay, that's cool. But I know that there's dips. Yeah. You know, there's highs and lows.
That's
in terms of this.
That's just recently. That's just due to my personality and me building relationships with this particular individual. But he stayed with us since March, so he stayed in the same apartment since March. And he's happy, and he's going to probably stay with me until the end of the year, if not maybe even longer.
Cool.
I'm actually due to have a curry with him, ironically. That's the first guest who's actually offered me to go out for a curry with him, so
and it's
cool.
fitting that he's offered him a curry, which is a little bit racist.
Yeah, that's good for
Yeah, but anyway, okay. So let's say the best property then, for example, that one. Obviously, you've had a few good months with it, 1,300 for example. But generally speaking, like some months are worse than other months.
Yeah.
Quick number, just a number. In terms of the year, what's kind of like an average that you'd expect?
I would say on average, I get between £300 to £400 a month on average across. Yeah, that's net.
Okay.
That's after my expenses.
Okay, so how hands off is your business now then?
Right now?
Yeah.
It's not hands off at all. No, I have got staff, but I'm in the interim of training them. I'm still very much in my business full time. I have to be in a business, except the difference is now I am working on the business, not working in the business. But it took me a year and a bit to get that.
So what activities actually go into setting up an SA?
Okay, so things do change depending on who you're dealing with, but because we said agents initially, we'll start with the agents. So contracts is one, company-let contract, that's your first thing. You do need to make sure as well with the apartment blocks, I don't want to go into too much detail about this, but I'm sure if you need to know more information, just ping us a message or something.
Drop it in the comments.
Yeah, you need to make sure that the building allows, the head lease allows short-term lets. You need to also make sure that the block management are okay with it. So I would be friends with the block management as best as you can. Those are the two things that you need to do in an apartment block. If it's a house, whether this is direct to landlord or with the agent, make sure that the landlord mortgage allows you to do short term, and the insurance allows you to do short term.
Okay.
Some mortgage companies will allow you to add that on. That's a conversation that you have to have with the landlord.
And then in terms of you've got all the
legalities and everything,
and the T's crossed.
Yeah.
Then in terms of the actual SA, so you've got this empty shell over an apartment. What is it?
So basically then it's a simple case of just getting your furniture in there really. So there's various different ways of doing it. Some people buy the furniture outright. Some people use a furniture supply, which is what I use. Some people lease the furniture, which is what I use. What I do, because of course there's benefits to it, and there's less tax benefits. There's less injection of your own personal money going into it. And then it's staging. Staging is key, and whatever you do not use your mobile phone. I don't care what iPhone you got, what Samsung, HTC, Samsung, whatever this massive fancy iPhone, whatever it is, do not use a mobile phone for your photos. Pay a photographer for it. I know it's money that you don't want to spend, but honestly,
it's worth it.
You're setting yourself up to fail.
So I know this obviously from being part of the business with TAL, one side of it. There's a lot of like linen and stuff as well. and
linen. Yeah.
That's the right word, isn't it?
Yeah, linen,
yeah. Probably said that right. So in relation to that, you obviously need spare amounts because you don't know the turnover in terms of how many people are coming. Would you recommend storage and stuff, or?
I wouldn't recommend it straight away, just because it's a cost that you don't really want to add on, because storage isn't cheap. It works out.
That's what you've got though.
I've got storage now, because I got nearly 18, 19 apartments, so I have to have storage. However, I would say if you've got the capacity in the apartment to do it, it depends on, of course, this might have to be a separate video or something, but it really depends on whether you are hiring your linen out or whether you are buying your own linen and just getting it washed. But we could touch on that at a later stage if we need to.
And in terms of setting up an SA, so for example, if somebody just wanted it sourced, I just say for example myself, if I said, can you just get me a property, you found me a brilliant property in a particular place.
Yeah.
Just a ballpark figure, roughly, like a range, how much would it cost me then to set this up by getting all the legal documentation, all the buildings insurance, all the furniture, and then getting it listed onto the right portals, which we call
booking.com. Contracts and everything the agents will do, or I will do for part of the agreement. I'll make sure that the contract is okay, so you don't have to worry about that. Because an agent will never let you use your own contract, because they have to read it. So chances are, get theirs, read it, ask them to put an addendum in there, or things that don't fit within what you need. But again, if you go through a credible source, they'll do it for you, and they won't charge you for that. So that's the first thing. So that's nothing that you have to worry about. Again, furniture setup is purely just down to you, really, as an individual. Do you want to buy it outright, or do you want to lease it?
So just an average cost. Just for example, now somebody might be wanting to message you and say, "Can you find me one?" They need to know how much money they
would need. Obviously, my fee for the sourcing. Then they need roughly, for a 2-bedroom apartment, you're probably looking around about 3,500 to 5,500, depending on what level you want to go for. That's everything pretty much that you need, from your beds, your wardrobes, your cutlery, your vacuum cleaners, all your artwork.
So the reason I asked that question was you still need some money to start. So on the basis of that, obviously with the sourcing and stuff, which I know you reduce it if they take you on as a manager.
Yes.
But generally speaking,
and if they do set up as well.
Right, and if they do that as well. So say I'm thinking 5 to 7 grand.
Yeah,
is probably
about right.
Yeah, right, so you're still going to need a fair bit to get yourself going, and then obviously think back and go to that kind of figure where you're thinking, for a 6 or 7 grand investment, I could be potentially making on average 350 a month as a sort of like a minimum kind of thing.
Yeah.
Your return on investment is pretty decent, and obviously if you can steamroll that, then obviously that's important. But that's something that a lot of people don't tell you. That you actually need those setup costs.
Yeah, that's why, again, quickly going on, that's why I opted to go leasing, because I'm not paying an extra £5,000 for furniture. It comes out of my cash flow, which is why my cash flows could be a little bit lower. But I'd rather it come out of my cash flow than me have to fork out 5 or 6 grand. So it swings and roundabouts. So you do whatever you feel is right.
Right. Okay. So that's a useful point. So if anyone was thinking, well, why is it so low? And there might be people there saying we earn a lot more. It's because a lot of the costs that you're kind of offsetting. So effectively you're leasing a lot more stuff. Whereas if we brought it out right, which a lot of people may do, but they won't tell you the full ins and outs, that's why they're making more money. So for example, if somebody's out there saying, well, I can get you 700, well, that's probably because your upfront costs are a lot more and you're having to purchase everything outright.
Yeah.
Whereas we've kind of done it with the tax benefits and stuff. Take a little bit less cash flow, but you're forking in less money at the beginning. So I think that's a really, really important point.
So it really just hinges on you and your financial status, really. Just work within your within your limits and stuff. That's what I'd say.
Okay, the next question is really useful for everyone as well. What's the best property YouTube channel that you've ever seen?
Oh, that's this one, hands down. Find your voice.
So that's obviously an important one, and I thought that would help a lot of people. But yeah, appreciate it. Cool. Okay, so a real question now. So we've done everything now. We've got it all set up. We've spent 5 to 7 grand, or however much you want in terms of how fancy you want it to be done. It looks fantastic. You've got a photographer, you've taken the photo, you're really excited. You're now going to be a multi-millionaire very, very soon.
Yeah, within 6 months.
What's the next step then in terms of you've got this product, how do you get it out there in the world?
So everyone says don't stay away from OTAs, but honestly, OTAs are your friend.
What?
Oh, sorry, you don't even know. God, I'm dealing with somebody who doesn't know. So
this is from here.
OTA, for those who don't know, is online travel agencies, which consist of Airbnb, Booking.com, HomeAway, Expedia, all the other platforms like that. So the ones where they charge you a commission for obviously using their services. Now, it's a funny thing. Now, people say don't use OTAs, use direct. Now, I'm sorry, right? Direct bookings don't just fall off trees.
Yeah.
They don't just happen. You can't just get an apartment and the next week you all of a sudden have just made a £3,000, a 3-month booking because you've got on your own website. It doesn't happen. Stick with the OTAs. Best thing to do is go airbnbbooking.com. Use those as your starting point. Have in the back of your mind that you want a website and make it look professional. And then look at the other OTAs like Expedia, HomeAway, and branch off slowly. So start with Airbnb and Booking.com. Those are the best ones to go for, I would say, if you're starting off.
Okay, cool. So the next one, would you recommend for somebody starting now in rent to rent or something to pay for a course, having been through one yourself?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend anyone to go on a course. In truth, you've learned more in the video than you've learned from a course because I've told you things that other people won't. In truth, you don't need to go on a course. There's so much information out there, and literally your network is your net worth, and that's how I've lived today.
Okay, so setting up a rent to rent or SA, along with running it like a business, then what's your power team consist of?
Power team consists of a cleaner. They're your eyes and ears on everything. They effectively run the business for you. That's your first power team, is just your cleaner and some guy who does general maintenance.
Okay.
So general maintenance as in painting, decorating, whatnot, electrics, things like that. So you need a reliable cleaner and a reliable maintenance team. Those are the two people that you want to start off with. As you grow and as you get bigger, then you want to implement staff. Now, staff consists of either a full-time member of staff, a VA, or maybe you want to have a full-time member of staff and a VA. Or whatever it is that you want to do. Those are the next things. You can start going a little bit more OTA in this kind of thing where you can, I've got connections with a security firm now, so they mitigate loads of the risks that I can potentially have.
Do you mean OTT?
Yeah, over the top. Yeah, you
can
get a bit.
OTA.
No. So you can get a bit over the top with that.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea then is as you start to scale, you start to get more. You don't necessarily need an accountant straight away, but just make sure that you have one in place. You don't really need a bookkeeper straight away,
Mm-hmm.
but have one sort of in place. Try to do as much as those little bits as possible as you can at the very start, and then because you'll find when you start to scale, you start to get busier and busier. You need those people in place.
Yeah, great advice, and I think that's really, really important. For a lot of these strategies are sold in terms of you almost pay yourself first and you outsource everything and you do all of that. I think that is quite a risky way of doing it, because one thing you need to know, and I've made so many mistakes by doing this myself, you need to be understanding how everything works.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be a master at everything, but you need to understand at least the logistical side of, okay, this happens, then we need to get this in, or we need the right person to plug this in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've done this really well in terms of, even by staying in your job, like you could potentially give up your job, you stayed in your job, you made sure that you just sweat equity, learn everything, then it's come to a point where you're like, okay, if I focus more on this side, this will obviously move the business forward, as opposed to me doing this side, and what I'll do is I'll supplement this side with a VA or with a cleaner or something like that.
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, so the last question then, so question 21, is your number one tip to any budding or inspiring investors, other than of course watching this channel?
Yeah. Eddie, my tip.
Yeah, number one tip.
She's sorry. Say that question again.
Yeah, sorry.
I just laughed when you said obviously watching this channel.
Yeah, it's a shameless plug there. So the number one tip to somebody aspiring to maybe jump into the rent to rent, or maybe just a property investor.
Or just my number one tip is this is two tips. Be yourself, and consistency, and just be ethnical. That's all I'd say is. Try not to be someone
ethical.
Ethic.
I thought you said ethnical.
Ethnic. No, was it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, whatever.
It's early over here.
Whatever.
Ethnical first.
Yeah.
And then maybe.
That's it. And then just be yourself and just be consistent in what you're saying. So don't try to be the best person in the world, because you're really not. There's so many people out there that are better than you. There's so many people out there that know more than you, but you really want to learn from them. Mm-hmm. So that's how I would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Be a student in any game.
Yeah.
Even myself, I'm 24/7 trying to learn as much as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, try and help you in terms of my experience, it's just one man's experience. I don't promise that what you watch here is going to completely change your life, but what I will promise you is that all these videos will literally save you a minimum of 15 to 20,000 pounds, if not more, because I've been in this now coming up to 5 years full time. I was a landlord like 8 years ago. You've been doing this now for a few years full time in the trenches. Yeah. So instantly you're getting some knowledge, and honestly the comments are open if anyone wants to drop comments. Obviously if you look at the description there'll be some links where you can follow Tal or follow myself, and we'll try and respond as much as possible. I've got nothing else really to say. I was just going to try and keep this video short, so if you stayed with us to the end, let us know that you stayed to the end in the comments below. If I get no comments saying that, then obviously you haven't stayed to the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other questions, we can always do further videos on it. Thank you to Tal for taking time. He's literally come from his own house all the way down, because I'm lazy and I'm still stuck in my joggers, to record today's video, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you.